Hello, my name is McKenna Riter Rowland, and with me is Natalie Martin. We are graduate students in the Speech and Language Pathology Department of the College of Allied Health Sciences. We chose to do our research into the effects of PECS in the autistic community and its implications on bodily integrity, and we completed this research under Michelle Leon. So to start, we will go over a couple of definitions. PECS stands for Picture Exchange Communication System. It's an augmentative and alternative communication system, which allows people with little to no verbal communication abilities to communicate using picture exchange. It's typically used for very early communicators, or again, people with limited verbal output. So PECS is depicted in the three pictures seen below. Here you have a student who has some diagrams and some pictures in their book. In the second picture, they are taking those pictures to create a sentence strip. And then in the third picture, which is not depicted, the student would have given the picture strip to the communication partner, and the communication partner has reinforced the communication turn with whatever the student has requested. The other definition we're going to go over quickly is for bodily integrity, which is defined as self-determination and self-ownership of one's own body, which we are saying includes the individual right to STEM, use preferred objects, and preferred therapy work. PECS is typically used with autistic students. They are generally the primary users of PECS. Like I said earlier, it's typically used for early communicators or those with limited verbal output. So having a picture diagram put into a sentence strip and then given to the communication partner is supposed to increase communication ability. It's said to offer accessible communication to these early communicators, but it requires physical prompts and hand-over-hand work within those hierarchies, which can be very limiting to bodily integrity. So our purpose for this research is to create neurodiversity affirming resources for parents, teachers, and other providers that encourage functional communication while maintaining bodily integrity and highlighting advocacy. We're really, engaged with this community. It's really important to us. So we really wanted to investigate the gap in the literature between teaching assistive communication and its implications on bodily integrity. Additionally, we want to highlight the autistic community's opinion on the use of physical prompts, specifically within the use of PECS. So we're better able to tailor our treatment to their recommendations. It's important to us that we're following community insiders' recommendations. We want it to be functional communication, but we also want it to be important to the clients that we're serving. We also want to investigate how a PECS system is impacted if phases are skipped or the prompting levels are changed. Like I mentioned, PECS relies on physical prompting, physically moving the client's hand to make a choice. And we want to know what is happening if we're able to individualize that program and encourage increased spontaneity and bodily integrity. We want to know how the PECS system is impacted if those are changed or skipped.
And as McKenna briefly mentioned, there's a big gap in the literature between PECS and bodily integrity and autonomy. There's very few studies on PECS in general and its efficacy. So one of the studies was performed by Flippin, and they did a systematic review of articles surrounding PECS, and they had an 8 single subject experiment and 3 group studies, and they reviewed them, but there were not many quality studies available for review. And then Watson and other researchers reviewed 27 studies and found only 3 randomized control trials have been reported on the PECS program. So there might be a lot of biases playing through with the research. And again, that gap in literature. Overall, the PECS was found to have small to moderate effects on improving communication. So again, quality research has not been completed on bodily integrity and PECS. However, expert opinions support the use of total communication approaches with limited hand-over-hand learning. One of these expert opinions is from Meg Proctor, who's an occupational therapist and founder of Learn, Play, Thrive. And she provides services at the Summit of Evidence-Based Practice and Neurodiversity Affirming Practices. She believes that PECS is detrimental to clients with autism as it strips them of their bodily integrity. As McKenna mentioned, the hand over hand is a big one, and their need for routines, and it limits their initiation of communication. And then another expert opinion is from Emily Lees, who is an autistic SLP in the United Kingdom. And she believes that ABA does more harm than good as it relies on physical prompting and leads to child distress and limits their communication. So PECS and ABA use similar teaching techniques and prompt those hierarchies that McKenna mentioned. Like you can't do one thing without doing another. And so for our research, we would like to send out surveys to speech language pathologists, PECS administrators, and pillars of the autistic community. And we would recruit them via personal and professional connections and social media presences. Our survey would include 11 Likert scale statements related to working with the PECS community and bodily integrity. And so this research would be a cross-sectional study, and the data will be collected through informal surveys of our participants. The data will then be analyzed through informal measures to determine the expert opinions on the implications of modifying PECS hierarchies and the impacts on the bodily integrity. And like McKenna previously mentioned, it's important to get the pillars of the autistic community's opinion so it can help to shape our neuro-affirming practices. So our project timeline consists of creating a survey and sending it to the participants, analyzing our findings using informal measures, and then we would like to distribute our findings to relevant persons via a website that we would create talking about the PECS system and bodily integrity.
And as we've continued to mention, Natalie illustrated with her literature review, there is a major gap in the research into PECS and its implications. We hypothesize that with further evidence supporting bodily integrity and total communication approaches, professionals who work with autistic clients will stray from hand over hand learning to create neurodiversity affirming practices. It's really important to us that our research shares and states how autistic children and adults don't like being forced to conform to neurotypical communication standards, and that it's ultimately detrimental to functional communication. If we are encouraging clients to go against communication approaches that feel comfortable to them, we are limiting their ability to functionally communicate with outside people. And as professionals, we have a duty to our clients to respect their communication preferences and differences and to advocate within our own professional circles. And we believe that this research into the gap can help other professionals really dive into total communication approaches that are helpful instead of detrimental to these clients. We feel the gap in the literature between effectively teaching assistive communication like PECS and the implications on bodily integrity is where true neurodiversity affirming care can take place. We believe that research into this topic with the lens of neurodiversity affirming practices will form strong foundational philosophies, creating a great impact on our clinical paths. Focusing on PECs with forward and individualized thinking, we can give autistic clients access to functional communication that celebrates their diversity and encourages their bodily integrity. We look forward to continuing this research and diving into all the different kinds of viewpoints. Thank you.